Welcome everybody back to the final cast. I'm your host Josh,
And I'm Brad.
and tonight we have Michelle Adams with us from Arachnet. I contacted Michelle. Actually, it's been a couple months. I don't know if you remember, Michelle. I had contacted you through email, asking if you would like to have the product reviewed, and you reached out immediately and sent me two Arachnets that we shared amongst the group and got everybody's kind of opinions about it.
Hmm.
And finally, we kind of put this back together because Brad was one of the last people to get a hold of it. So he recently, I don't know, what was it, 3 weeks ago, Brad, that you got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brad made a video. I don't know, Brad, you have to send her the link to the video. It's
Oh,
kind of
Oh
fun.
no,
she
I
already
watched
saw
the video. Yeah, I watched the video. I did.
With
Yeah,
this,
I always
this
like the videos. I've had a lot of people review the product, and so I always like to watch the videos because I like to see. Well, first of all, I like to see how creative people are because I get pictures of the spider in the refrigerator. I, I get pictures of the spider in people's beds. I get pictures of spider, so I'm always eager. I always like to watch the videos. Yeah, and look for pictures.
Brad and I were supposed to partake in this video, but unfortunately, me and my two little boys caught strep throat that weekend. And Brad was going to come over and we were going to shoot that video and end up having to cancel on him. But my idea, which didn't happen, unfortunately, was to drape this thing across my 4-year-old and 2-year-old on the couch
Mhm.
and tell them not to move while I was making dinner and then have one of them move and set it off and come in. But
I've
that
had
didn't
that video. I've had the video where they've put it over their children. I've had the video where they put the dog's toy
happen.
under the arachnet and then the dog set it off twice and then the dog would just sit and bark at the arachnet like just
That's a good
done.
one.
Yeah,
Dang,
yeah.
I was hoping I was original and I wasn't at all.
Oh,
That's
you
all
know
right,
what? I
Well,
there's you were, you were trying.
well,
man.
I got a little creative and well, my wife graciously let me place the net over her, and I got to take a little Snapchat of that. She told
Good.
me not to put that in the video though, so it didn't make it.
So the Snapchat was worth it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had
You're
one of my
you're
salesmen underneath it at a show one time. Set him up in front of the booth, and then like they had him set in like a camping chair, and I put it over the top of him, and then I armed it, and we all just sat and laughed because he had to be perfectly still. It was really funny.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Cool.
Michelle, we wanted to kind of dive into some questions here.
Sure.
Our first one was going to be, how did you come up with the idea for the Arachnet?
Well, that's an interesting story because it wasn't me. It was my husband. So my husband is the inventor, but he's the shy one, and he does not want to talk to people. Bless his heart. So, thank God he married me because I liked people. So anyway, he was actually deployed to Hurricane Katrina. He was working with FEMA and Homeland Security. He's a contractor. And so he had ladders, tools, and equipment in the back of his truck. And every single night he'd have to figure out a way to park his truck so that he could still see it. Now, for months, he was parked in a razor wire environment so that nobody could get to his vehicle. So that was cool. But then when he had to actually go out into the more remote regions, he'd have to find the seedy hotel where you can park right up to the door, the kind that you pay by the hour. And
Right.
and he could park right up to the door and leave his curtain open so that he could see if anybody was trying to get his gear out of the back of his truck. So that's what it all started with. He called me on the phone. He's like, "Is there anything? Like, can you find anything? Go to, because nothing was open there." And he
Hmm.
was like, "Can you go like to Home Depot, Lowe's, start looking around?" And so I was like, Tractor Supply. I was going to all the locations trying to find something that we could arm and guard his gear. And then so he invented it actually for himself. So he started doing all this research and motion sensors and webs and that kind of thing. And then when he came home, he started a business, and he had employees, and his employees had his tools, right? And every
Right.
day they would park at Lowe's and Home Depot, going in to buy the very tools and gear and equipment and supplies that everybody else is going to buy. So they would leave all that stuff in the back of the truck, and they would be like, okay, well, hopefully nobody will bother what's here. So that's how it all started. And then we had people contact us and say, hey, can I use this on my, can I use this on this? Can I use it on that? Well, sure you can. It'll work there. It'll work there. So I had a guy who worked on the original marketing team for Yeti contact us and say, hey, have you ever thought about using this in the outdoor sports market? And we were like, well, we don't know, we're just contractors. We don't know anything, about the outdoor sports market. I mean, we live on a lake. We have a boat. We do not have a fishing boat, and we do not have a kayak. Well, at that time, we didn't have a kayak, and we didn't have speedboat, nothing like that. And so we were like, sure, yeah, it'll work. I mean, it'll work on anything, because at that time we were using it on our motorcycle. So we would haul our motorcycle to go to rallies, like we'd go to Myrtle Beach or Florida or Daytona or whatever. And we were hauling our Harley. And so it was always nice to just be able to put all our gear in the trailer, because it's too long to go in our box trailer. And so we would cover it, and, we could go in and have dinner. We could go to a rest area. It didn't matter what, if we wanted to go in the grocery store or whatever. So we weren't in fear for somebody stealing the parts off of our bike more than just the bike itself. So.
Right.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
All because it just came down to protecting tools.
Well, it is. I mean, right? They say, what is it? Is the mother of invention? What is that? Necessity is the mother of invention. And basically, we were down to a necessity place. He was in the middle of nowhere, needed something, and we didn't have anything. So then when he came home, he was like, "This is really bugging me."
Yeah.
It's I love the backstory with that, because recently around Memorial Day here, where Brad and I are from in Dayton, we had a major tornado outbreak that happened here. And from, just being friends with people on Facebook and in the Dayton area, there was horror story after horror story of these generous contractors that were coming into town doing work for free to help clean up, and the crappy people that would literally rob them blind of their tools and stuff, and these are in the neighborhoods that are hit the hardest, and they're being stolen from, and all they're doing there is opening themselves up to help whoever they possibly can. And it was just, I can't tell how many stories I read about this happening, and it's unfortunate people are like that today like that. But it's awesome that you guys have come up with a product that can kind of combat that. I've watched people talk about the Arachnet online, and there's a lot of chatter saying, well, that's not going to stop anybody. And it's like, you guys missed the entire point of the product. It is not, there's nothing foolproof to keep anybody from stealing your stuff in the long run. But it's a theft deterrent. And if you don't know what the word deterrent means, look it up then, because this is something that, yes, they could just cut that thing out, but it is going to alarm regardless of what you do to it. Like, you cut that, it's going to drop the spider if you have it set up properly, and it's going to set up off the alarm. And they may, you're gonna only get so far without somebody noticing that it's happened. That thing is obnoxiously loud. And
one of the things, I hate to interrupt you on this, but
you're right.
This is an interesting point I just wanted to make, that one of the things about the 120 decibel alarm, it came from the engineers of the car manufacturers. So there was a reason why they selected the 120 decibel alarm. They selected it because it ignites the fight or flight response in the brain. And that was what they wanted it to do. So they wanted it to disrupt and confuse the thief. Yeah. So it prevents people, and they're like, well, I could do it. Well, okay. I'm not going to dispute. Maybe you could. Maybe the thief in you is so deep and so right that that's what you want to do, and you're going to achieve greatness. But my thing is too, if somebody wants to rob a bank, they're going to rob a bank. Yeah. There's gonna be obstacles all the way along and along. And what we want to do is, for the first time, actually in outdoor history, right? For the first time, someone is creating an obstacle that gives an alarm.
Yeah.
So we are the only game in town. So we are the only product that currently is on the market that is a web, and it's motion censored, and that it can cover an area and, achieve what we're trying to achieve. So, is it fail safe? Is it perfect? Nothing is perfect. Nothing is fail safe, but it is the first line of defense. And that's what I like to say. It's the first line of defense. And besides that, there's nothing else like it.
Right. And I mean, it's a great idea. Sorry, Brad, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that I think that right there is like the whatever you said that triggered the thing in the brain.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool because somebody's gonna walk up to that. They're gonna look at the net. They're not gonna think anything of it, and they reach in there. That thing's gonna go off. It's gonna confuse them. They're gonna stand there shocked, or they're either gonna run away. So I mean, that right there, it's like a good product.
Yeah, it's gonna, and I mean, not only do you trigger that within whoever might be trying to steal your stuff, but you're also bringing a whole lot of attention to yourself at that point.
Yes.
So that's where you're gonna be pushed kind of to that flight mode. I might not just hang around and keep trying to fool around with this thing. So
and bass fishermen tell me all the time that the weigh-ins. Now you guys do your weigh-ins in a different way than I think the bass fishermen do. I'm not hugely familiar, but but with the bass guys, like not the, because you guys are bass fishermen as well, but
the boat guys.
with the what would we call them?
Bass boat guys.
Bass boat guys. Then when they go to a weigh-in, they say it's like perfect pickings. Like all their boats are lined up and they're at the weigh-in with their fish. They're in line, they're waiting their turn, and people just walk along their boats and just take their stuff. Just pull it right out. I mean, it's just, they can dismantle, depth finders and all that stuff. The trackers and all that. They can totally dismantle a boat in like no time flat. But if you have the Arachnet there, they might try, but they're going to get found out. And the other thing about the alarm that I always like to add is it goes off for 30 seconds, but then it resets itself and it's armed and ready to go again. So if somebody comes along and disturbs it, okay, it'll go off for 30 seconds, and you can kind of look out and see what's going on. And they may have taken off, but then they thought, well, I set the alarm off, so it's not going to go off again. If they think they're going to come back and try to revisit that, it's armed and ready to go again for the life of the 9-volt. So it will go off, it will go off continually until the battery's dead.
That's a great idea. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it has a reset.
So we had a conversation on our post when we posted that video. One of our listeners brought up issue that he thought might be an issue of somebody hitting the switch before the alarm goes off. I don't know if you have anything to say about that or not.
It's just not possible. I mean, it's just not possible because you'd have to flip it. Well, the alarm is what we call, what it's been labeled as by the engineers. It's seismic. So a seismograph measures vibration. So that means that it's a vibration alarm. So any disturbance at all, be it vibration or whatever it is, it's going to go off. I mean, you can't flip it without vibrating it. So you can't click the switch without vibrating it. You can't disconnect it from the web without vibrating it. It's just not possible.
Yeah. And like I said before, if somebody was to do that, they're going to have to be really familiar with the product.
Exactly. So, they are. Yep, for sure.
That's cool. So we went through how you got into the kayak fishing world. Do you want to go into that a little bit more? Like, do you have a pro staff or anything?
Well, actually, what we're doing is we're building a pro staff, and so you've been I don't know if Stormy's been Craig Storms. I don't know if you know him,
Yeah.
but Craig has been communicating. He a lot of times is the one that refers to people on Messenger. You know, because he controls all that, and he has been doing a lot to feed the kayak industry because we about I guess it was a year and a half ago, Ty Sutherland from 30 Miles Out got a hold of our product. We gave him some of the product, and he and his wife travel a lot with their kids and all their kayaks. So they have like a large amount of kayaks that they keep covered, and they gave me such incredible feedback. And each time Stormy came across me or I came across Storms, he was like, you've got to get, in with these kayak guys. And I didn't know enough about kayak fishing to how to do that, And so finally, the people from KBF, Kayak Bass Fishing, I think everybody knows who KBF is.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so those guys have been really terrific. Chad and the group have been really great and supportive. And I think you're going to see more of Arachnet. After, next year on tour, you're going to see more of a presence for us. And that's our intention. We also have another product in development. So that's coming along. So for all those arachnophobes, you were talking earlier about a guy who doesn't like the spider. And so what we did was we came up with a product that is not a spider. So that's in the coming. Yep, we've already got so we've already done the prototype for that, and it's exactly like the Arachnet, only now we have a small box that opens up and the switch is inside of it.
Okay.
So we've responded to that question too. Even though we know it's not an issue, people are always going to doubt a new concept,
Right.
So the struggle with Arachnet is we are the only portable alarm system on the market today, right? So everybody's going to question it. It's like the first guy that ever came up with Velcro. They're like, what? First guy that ever, ripped off a Post-it note, threw a Post-it note out and said, look at this. This is so cool, And some people are like, that's kind of stupid. And we get a lot of that. We get a lot of, doubting responses and a lot of negativity. And we just kind of keep on going, and do our thing. Because we're a small family-owned business. So it's, our oldest daughter and my husband and I, and we have one other person besides us, and that's Ken Cedor. And he's working it every single day, and we're all doing what we can. But basically, we're a small family business, and, we just do the thing. But I think you're going to see more of us on the kayak tour this year. We're going to try to do as much as we can to infiltrate. And our new product has got a different name. So for people, now it will be ProtectNet by Arachnet. So it'll be the same exact design. It's just the box instead of the spider.
Okay.
So ProtectNet tells more of the story. And so we felt like ProtectNet was a better choice.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's cool.
Dan,
So cool.
Dan Perry, if you're listening, you don't have to fear the net anymore, buddy.
You don't have to fear the spider.
He wants to know.
Anyway.
He wants to know why you chose the spider.
Well, my husband chose that because when we ordered the first web, we ordered one that was similar to the one that you have draped over your shoulders right now, but it had O-rings. It had metal O-rings on it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you stretched it, it slid around a lot because the metal O-rings didn't hold it tight enough, and so it slid around, but it always looked like a web. Every time we stretched it, it looked like a spider's web. And Dave thought it was ironic that much like the Black Widow senses the vibration in her web, and that's how she knows she's caught her prey. The Arachnet also feels the vibration and catches her prey. So that was the theory.
That's clever.
Oh, you know where you should go with this from? All right, so you make it where it's like pneumatic, and they touch it, and it shoots the net on top of them.
So then they're in the net.
They're
right?
in the net,
I got it.
struggling on the ground, and you're like, I got you.
Okay. Some people
That's
wanted
awesome.
to electrocute them. Some people wanted to take a photo and send it to the police. Some
That
people want to, we have so many ideas, so many geniuses out there trying to help us in our endeavor. Yeah, it's really terrific. Yeah.
I gotta ask this: what's the most unique use that somebody's used the net for?
Bear. So they use it as a bear deterrent. So we have a lot of people that use it in Canada, and they use it on their trash cans in their outdoor buildings, because a lot of people in northern Canada can store their meat and their food in basically in sheds outside. They don't need refrigeration. And when you're we deliver arachnets and nets to people that are literally receiving their stuff from the ice road truckers.
Yeah.
Like that's how remote we have product. I was telling you in the Arctic, there's a company that orders our nets that just service the Arctic. And so we so bear deterrent, bear and animal, raccoons. Yeah.
That's cool.
We used to portage a lot. So we used to hike and canoe a lot up in the Boundary Waters in northern Minnesota. And we used to have to hoist our food. And now you just wrap it, you just wrap the arachnet around the food, you can leave it all on the table and throw the arachnet over the top of it, and a bear is just going to wig out. He is going to hate that.
Yeah.
Because all it's going to do, the more he moves it, the more it goes off. It's never going to stop. So the only way he's going to get away from it is just to take off. So.
Oh man, Brad, my trash panda friends. I just heard them all kind of weep a little bit.
Your what?
My trash panda buddies, aka the raccoon.
Oh, listen,
it's a little insight.
Do it. Yeah. Do it, man. It works. They may come back twice, but they won't come back a third time. I promise you that.
That's awesome.
So, how about let's go into a little bit of kind of looks like the net is made out of like a standard like bungee, but is there anything kind of special about the net?
Well, that's interesting that you asked that, because we were very specific how we wanted the net to be. Number one, we want it to be able to use on any surface, and we have customers that use it on the Jeep. So we felt like it was really important not to have, because we lay it over our Harley and stuff. We didn't want the metal rings because they bend and they rust, they open up, they can scratch surfaces. And so we did the hand-tied knots. We felt like that was better suited for people that have a lot of money in boats and kayaks and canoes and skis and everything else that you can protect, under the security of the net. So the fact that it's hand-tied, we felt like it was an important thing. Now, one of the things that we want to offer later on, and as we kind of grow, the no-tech net, which is what you have draped over you, is now the technical term of the no-tech net. Chad, thank you, Chad Hoover, for naming that the no-tech net. We'll have different sizes eventually. So that will eventually evolve. Yeah. Okay. So it's still evolving. Right now it has the utility clips that are adjustable and also have the loops that you can tie down with. So you can actually tie down from the hook. And that's why we put the holes in there. Okay. So each one of your hooks is adjustable. So it's got the loop that attaches to the web, but it also has a hole in the polymer. So you can tie down with that. So
this is what she's talking about.
Yeah. The hole.
If you guys go back and check out our YouTube video here,
get my big face out of the way.
Josh is holding up the hook here.
And the one thing that I recommend, because we gave the bag, we started giving the carrying bag away. We really wanted people to see how lean and mean, the product can reduce down to any size, to such a small size, because kayakers characteristically like to operate lean and mean. That's kind of what they're known for. And so one of the things that we liked about the satchel was that you can see exactly how small, the arachnet can be. Well, I recommend when you put your arachnet away, remove your hooks. It's just worth it.
Yeah.
My recommendation.
I didn't even realize you could remove them.
Yeah. So
they're completely adjustable. Yeah. So you can configure it. Like We have some
Okay.
people.
You see how you can unclip it? Like, well, you
Yeah.
could just pull it. It pulls
Yeah.
tight.
So
but-
we have some people that reduce it down, so they don't even use it on that outside edge. They use it on the inner side edges. You know, they reduce it down to a smaller size. So they don't, some people fold it in half.
Yeah.
Some
Okay.
people use two and they use them in tandem. So we
Yeah.
have people that order extra nets.
Mhm.
And then that way they can take two nets and clamp the Arachnet down between the two nets,
Mhm.
and it will work on two nets.
Yeah.
Is there any plans for you guys to make like a bigger net to cover a whole kayak?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was saying is we're really looking at sizes.
Okay.
So right now we've been in kind of negotiations with some different some truck accessories people.
Mhm.
And one of the things I think we're going to do with them is because these people are serious. The accessories that they have, like Lear, Lund, DZ, those guys,
Mhm.
they are incredible, the stuff that they're adding on as accessories to trucks for kayakers, because you guys characteristically camp as well. So
Yeah.
you're loading your truck up. I mean, it's got everything on it. So you want to be able to cover really not just your bed. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes you're covered all the way from the roof of your truck all the way back to the back end. So,
Mhm.
and along down the sides. I mean, they've got stuff that strap alongside, you know, your truck beds that are unbelievable. And now we're getting more and more accessories to go onto kayaks. So it's getting harder and harder to cover. So yeah, I think it's wisdom for us. We haven't really had any recommendations on sizes,
Mhm.
but it's not, you know, we'll take recommendations. I mean, if you guys, you know, get to thinking about it and you want to mess with it and you want to tell me, well, this is what I think.
Mhm.
I'm always looking for feedback. The evolution of Arachnet never stops. Because we are new, right?
Mhm.
We're new to the game. We're you know, the first time that somebody said, "Oh, I've got a cooler that'll be like a refrigerator." You know, it's a Yeti and it'll last you, you know, it'll be cold for 6 days, you know.
Yeah.
You were like, I don't know. And now they've evolved into so many different directions.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it's wisdom, right? To always be kind of moving rather than
Yeah.
just, you know, stuck. So that's how come even after a year and a half of being on the market, because we didn't know. I mean, we're just a group of people that said, you know, husband and wife, we have a small business, we have another business, and we're just a husband and wife that said, okay, well, we can make this a thing, you know.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, we don't, I mean, I don't have all the answers. I can promise you that, you know, I don't. But the one thing I do is that I try to keep everything as reasonable as I possibly can, you know, for especially for my kayak guys, because I feel like they're family men, they're on a budget, they're a 95er, you know, they're just trying to feed their families and just have a good time, and that's their outlet. That's their, you know,
Yeah.
and they don't want to spend, you know, $500 on something, you know, and besides that, they don't want to get their one thing stolen,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know. You
You
know,
you
that's
just
the
described
bummer,
me.
right? Right? I mean, that's what I see time and time again with the kayak guys. And that's really why they're kind of my groove. You know, I feel good with the kayak group because they're just like us. You know,
Yeah.
we have our thing too. You know, we have our thing. You know, we have our little Harley, and you know, we don't want it to get stolen, and you know, we like it, and so
Yeah.
I get it. I
I
totally get
mean,
it.
yeah, it's a great idea. Like there's a tournament that Brad and I do. You know, the kayak tournaments are sort of similar. We don't do like necessarily a fish weigh-in, but usually at the end of, you know, a tournament, there is what they call like a weigh-in or check-in. And so
Mm-hmm.
you'll have the same kind of deal, and it's probably even easier to steal out of these kayaks than it is a bass boat. And there's a tournament that Brad and I do in which they run an outdoor expo at the same time.
Oh
And so
yeah.
you're parking in this park that's literally has thousands and thousands of people all visiting this expo. And we're all parked like fairly far away. You're talking about like quarter mile to a half mile from where you're walking, to check in at. Brad, I don't know if you've been to that outdoor expo. I know
No,
Justin has,
I
but
know what it is.
yeah, and you're
Yeah.
parking pretty far away from where, this check-in happens. So it's something that all fishermen really kind of do a lot of times. And this kind of, especially with the kayak community, because you touched on how a lot of times we're camping. And, a lot of guys like myself, I am not comfortable leaving my kayak fully rigged up at night.
Yeah.
So we end up having to kind of rig everything up in the morning before you're trying to go out in a tournament. And it's nice to know that there's a product out there that, I mean, we're all still sleeping fairly close to our gear. So this is gonna definitely wake you up if somebody's messing with it, and you can have everything rigged up, ready to go. You'll be able to get up in the morning, take that off and get your boat in the water and go, instead of worrying about pulling everything out of the locked truck like we tend to have to do a lot of times.
Yeah.
Sure.
So-
No, I agree.
That was what I was going to mention. Like the whole camping aspect of the Arachnet is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I've even seen pictures of guys like draping it over like the opening of their tent and keeping some of their stuff in there.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
it's
That
cool.
was for us. I mean, like I said, we used to do a lot of portaging, hiking, canoeing, and camping and stuff in the boundary waters.
Mhm.
Well, northern Minnesota is Canada. There's bears. I mean, big ones. They ain't playing.
Yeah.
and they want you. Okay, they want your tent. All right. And so we could hear them snorting, in the night and stuff a lot of times. And I thought to myself, man, oh man, it would have made a difference. That time we would have kind of felt, we're kind of like, okay, just be really freaking still, because we
Yeah.
don't want to, I mean, they're nothing to mess with. So we did. I mean, it is one of those things that I'm kind of glad that it speaks to, as well as the camping aspect and being able to leave. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like families go now, they go camping and it's everybody, is camping kind of all together. I know that David's family is big into camping and they all go and their campers are all together. But I mean, you've got bicycles, you've got grills, you've got everything out. All you gotta do is throw the Arachnet over it, arm it and go. And I mean, somebody will at least pay attention if somebody's campsite's going off, for sure.
Yeah.
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 So I do got to ask. I've been hearing a rumor about an app being created for a net. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, there is. So we're
Cool.
looking at a Gen 2, but the other thing about the Gen 2 is with the app, I've got to have proof of concept here, because that's a big investment. I've done all the R&D. I've worked with Verizon. We know the chip that it's going to take. With the 5G coming in hard, we've got it's got a Cat M1 technology that goes with it, and that is an Internet of Things product that will be the lowest pull of frequency that is ever been kind of monitored. And the reason that I had to wait until that was an opportunity is because if you're going to do an app, I want it to be reasonable, cost effective.
Right.
Because $10 a month, that's $120 a year.
Mhm.
I'd like to see it being able to do it for half of that.
Yeah.
$50 a year or $55 a year, even less than half. I want to see it at that $50, $49.99. I want you to be able to monitor, have the app and be able to effectively perform, and so I've done all the research and I've talked to the people, and it's going to be a sizable investment for us. And so we really need a strong following, proof of concept. People really have to dig in and get it, spend less time, criticizing it, and really just give it a try. We've played with our price point here at the $129.99, and to see if, it needed to be where it needed to be. And there's been a huge deliberation. I had a guy that told me it's worth $175 all day long. Well, I don't know. I don't see that.
Yeah.
I'd really, ideally, I think I wanted it at the $99, but with the changes in importing, we've really had a tough time, really trying to squeeze that down. 2 years ago, that would have been a thing, and we could have achieved that. We can't achieve that today. And the other side of that coin with the Gen 2, and why I brought the pricing up is with the Gen 2, there's going to be a bigger commitment. It's going to be, for you guys, it's going to be more money because it's more technology. So you're looking at a $225 range.
Right.
You're looking at $100 increase on the product. And so, again, I wanted to make something that was affordable for, the lion's share of men that are, and women that are out there, doing the thing that they love, finding their passion, living their best life. But, that next level is about $225, and so, in order to get there, there's a lot of investment that has to be made. I've done all the R&D on it. I mean, we already have the patent started, everything's going, so,
cool.
so yeah, it's definitely coming. Just to say when, right now, we're really happy to have just the box. The design changes that we did to the box. So there's some different design changes more than just it being a box. You have the on-off switch on the inside. So our manufacturing is cheaper and easier, and we were able to reduce the manufacturing on that as well. The cost. So we might see a price change in a downward motion on the next one, on the Protect Net. We could definitely see that if nothing changes. If polymer prices don't evolve, if the import-export things gets, resolved, that'd be great. But yeah, it's definitely, Gen 2 is definitely, with the more technology, increased technology is definitely coming.
That's cool.
Very
cool. Yeah, that's always been interesting ever since I heard that rumor.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is.
I'm kind of assuming when you're talking about the new box that's got the switch on the inside, is it just like a simple design type of box? Because I would assume making this compared to like a box, box is gonna be cheaper to make.
Yeah,
for you.
it is. The box is going to be cheaper to make, and the other thing is we have to keep the polymer stronger on that because it's got the spindly legs.
Yeah.
So we had to make it so that nobody was nothing was breaking off and that kind of thing, and people weren't giving me crap because the legs were breaking off. So this way, if you think of a money clip, you know how money clip is shaped, that U shape. So think of a plastic money clip on each end of the box welded to the bottom. So then we just slide the net underneath one side and pull it taut, and then slide it to the other side of the net. So it just catches the net on both sides. Yeah.
How big is that box, dimension wise?
Okay, so, and this was my goal. Remember those tackle boxes when we were kids at Walmart, like the pocket tackle?
Yeah.
Pocket tackle.
Like 6 inches by 4 inches or something?
Yeah. So that was our goal, was basically the pocket tackle box. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So I wanted it to be, even more size efficient, because size and weight is an issue for guys, especially. We have a lot of hunters that are mountain biking now. So there's these electric mountain bikes that hunters use now. So if they have the Arachnet, then they just throw it on the pouch on their back and take off, and then when they get to their deer stand, they can just park their bike, throw the Arachnet over the top of it, and climb in their deer stand.
Yeah.
So many uses. I love it.
Yeah. So we've seen a lot of different things. I mean, we've been to ATA. This will be our second year at ATA. That's the Archery Trade Association. So we're headed there. That'll be in Indianapolis in January. But the one thing that I like to say is we're not into gypping anybody. We don't want to rip anybody off. And if somebody really genuinely feels like it didn't give them what they wanted, they send it back. I mean, no matter what part it is, within the 1 year, the first year, no matter what part it is, if you weren't satisfied with the web, if you weren't satisfied with the Arachnet itself, you can send it back and I'll send you a new one. I'm not trying to get over on anybody. I'm not becoming a millionaire on this. I just want to see if it works, actually.
Yeah.
I just want to see if I can do it. And I think in that, historically, that's what we're all about. We're not shy about who we are. We don't hide from anybody. We don't have anything to hide. We're out there. We like to just, be honest with people, and, we're real, just like you. We have, families, and my youngest is in college. I have a 5-year-old granddaughter. Wouldn't it be cool for me to tell her a story about how I built something that paid for her college,
Yeah.
and
Right.
that's really what it's about. It's about family, it's about friends, and seeing people be able to enjoy what makes them happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely doing it. It's taking the kayak world by storm, that's for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope so. I'm excited about it. I really
Yeah.
am. I really am. But if there's any feedback that you guys get, don't hesitate. Reach out. I'm always listening. It doesn't matter what you say. I can
Right.
hear anything. I mean, you can ask Craig Storms. He calls me banging on my brain 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes just complaining, blah, 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 this, that. I'm like, all right, I get it.
Well, you have to be receptive to that, because I mean, you
Yeah.
can't make improvements without getting, the positive and the negative feedback, because,
Right.
if you think that you made a product and it's perfect and
Yeah.
it's just gonna, then
Yeah.
you may have, but that's the key to being innovative, like with what
Mm-hmm.
you've done, because,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, you guys found that you had a need for something like this, which
Mm-hmm.
is awesome. Like, I really commend you on that aspect of it, because, like I said, all the stories that you hear about people doing good out there and getting bad things happen to them, it happens too much. But,
Mm-hmm.
Brad and I've talked about it, and we've heard our own fair share of, negative reviews on this, like, oh, well, I think it'd be easy to do this or that. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys say that, but in the moment, do you
Yeah.
really think? That's
Well,
the thing.
I want
It's
to
like,
let you know. So every day, so there's this thing. It's called The Man in the Arena, and I would encourage everybody to go read it, because every day I have to remember that I'm the man in the arena.
yeah,
Because the one thing is, the onlookers are going to say, this is what we think.
Mm-hmm.
right,
And I'm going to look at them and say, this is what I know,
right,
because I'm in it every single day. I'm the one that did it.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You can sit in the bleachers and think, and I'm going to be the one that knows. And
yeah,
so I gave you my best. I gave you what I had. If you didn't want it, then move along.
yeah,
If it's something that you believe that will help you, might help you, try it.
yeah,
If you think it might help you. But if your thing is to sit on and mock it, sit on the sidelines, be in the bleachers, then sit in the bleachers and mock it. But at
yeah,
the end of the day, I'll be the one that will have lived the life, that have done the thing, that braved the criticism,
right,
that created something from nothing. And so, I mean, do it, they can do what they want. That's the way I refute it, is okay, you know,
yeah,
you're cool. Just go believe your thing, or buy one and try
right,
all your things and make the video and then send me the pieces and say, this thing was a piece of shit. Like, excuse my language. And I didn't like it, and send it back to me.
yeah.
It's cool. I mean, I'm okay with that
You're
too.
not losing any sleep over it.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'll give you back your $129 or whatever it was that made you feel better, because mocked my thing from the bleachers.
Do you
You
guys have
know,
a Facebook page?
we do.
Do
Yep,
you?
we do. It's Arachnet. Yep,
Okay.
yep. It's Arachnet. And then we also, so the website is, or our website. Please let me tell you about our website. Arachnet.net is not the most proud moment I have. I am a widget maker. I am a mouthpiece. I am a manufacturer. I am not a website maker. So the guy I paid to do my website, he took my money and he laughed in my face. And he made the saddest website ever was. And so we are not living and dying by our website, but there's a lot of changes to be made on there. And so we'll probably shut down right after the first year, probably for the month of January. We'll just shut it down and revamp and redo. And so, we're kind of going on a hiatus, because when we come back, we'll come back with Arachnet. We'll come back with ProtectNet by Arachnet. We'll come back with the No Tech Net. And, you know, we'll feature our pros. Some of our guys will feature, if you provide us with videos or whatever, so that we can implant them in the website. That's what I'd really like to do, is be able to, even though I will say, I'm just going to be really honest with you right now. Craig Storms, before we had this little conversation, he sent me this message, and he said, you know, those are the guys that ranked on you last week. You know, those guys, all those guys on Facebook giving you a hard time. You know, that's them, right? I was like, let them come, you know, you can see how much it affects me. So I was like, nah, I'm cool. I'm going, I'm doing it. I'm doing the damn thing. I don't care. So, yeah, let him tell me how terrible it is. I don't care. One guy did a review, and all he could talk about was the pin, but then he took it to a camp. You know, he wasn't satisfied with how wobbly the pin was in the clip. Yeah. And we have since kind of changed that design a little bit, but every time he went to a campsite and he just so many people try it. It was hysterical. And it went off every single time. And they were strategically like trying to dig in there and not make it go off. And he did it time after time. It was one of the best reviews we've ever had. I saved the recording because it was hysterical, because it worked every time. I mean, it rose to the occasion every single time, no matter how they configured it, no matter what they did with it. So this is awesome. It's always good. Stuff. Yeah. But arachnet.net is where you can find us right now. And and find me on Arachnet. Send me a private message. I always respond to my messages. You can reach me, Michelle, at arachnet.net. You can reach me directly. If anybody has a store out there and wants to be a dealer, I will definitely, your staff will have shirts. You'll have video. I always do motion censored monitors on the floor, so that when people walk by, they can see the video play of all the different uses. And I give them gear and that kind of thing. And if you guys send me your sizes, I'll send you guys some shirts.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. We appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
We need to try to get these things in the Loveland Shop.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Like, any of these kayak shops should start carrying them, man. Like, you know, it's a great idea. It's to me, from when I had a lot of interest in it. That's why I reached out to you.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen it on the internet, and I had thought about all the times I've been camping and the stress of packing everything up and unpacking it. It just drove me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And there was when we did a paddle and fin meet up here in Ohio, and the whole night it was on 4th of July weekend, so it's the busiest weekend of camping known to man, like especially in Ohio. And it was so busy that the entire park was filled except for a few sites that were near the boat ramp, which aren't they don't have electric and stuff. So, you know, and there's people partying everywhere, and I'm like, man, and there's 15 of us, and between the 15 people out there, there's just thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of fishing equipment sitting there. And every night I'd sit there and tear it down and put it all back together in the morning, you know, and tear it down, put it back together the next morning. It's just, it gets old. And you know, it's time lost in a sense when you think about it, when you're trying to wake up and you're like, I got to get out there before the sun comes up, when that last first hour of daylight, you know, instead of sitting there wasting time packing everything back in the boat. So, you know, when I reached out to you, I got to thank you, because I reached out to you, and you were the first person I had actually contacted as far as getting some products to review here. And you were very, very quick and eager to send that product to us. No questions asked. You didn't question who we were or anything like that. I gave you a little bit of background history, but really the final cast itself was very young at that point. And so I wanted to thank you for that. And, I know we've had a ball playing around with this thing and not doing all kinds of goofy stuff with it. So, and I have big plans to mess around with this thing even more. So, and I appreciate it. It says a lot about
welcome. You're welcome.
and it says a lot about the belief in your product. And that's what's awesome about it. So.
Well, you're welcome. Glad to help. And anytime. The other thing I want to put out here, I don't know how many listeners or anything you guys have, but the one thing I like to also say is any nonprofit organization, anybody doing a fundraiser, we support the Junior Bass in Colorado. Those guys always reach out to us. High school fishing, we really support those kids. So if they're doing a silent auction and you want product, we always send out product just to support the kids. Anytime. I mean, we've driven down to Florida to do a nonprofit fundraiser for those guys down there. And we just really like to do that. We feel like showing the goodwill is always good, for everybody. And so that's what we like to do. So anytime, if anybody reaches out, if they have a need, something, that they want help with, just give us a call. I mean, we just, this is why we do it, right? Because things matter to us, right? So it's not just all about money. Things matter,
Sweet. I think that's all I got for tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
Was there anything? I knew you kind of mentioned something. You said new, but I don't know that you necessarily wanted to talk about it. You kind of skipped over it real quick, which I understand because we get a lot of that actually here. But is there anything new you wanted to let anybody in on that you might have coming up in 2020 besides what we already went over with the?
No, I think that's
Arachnet?
pretty much. Well, I mean, we've got a lot of input. Like I said, from Chad at KBF, he's been really helping us. And Storm is always, yapping about something. He's always telling me I got to do something. I got to plug in here. He's always telling me I got to do something, So, but other than that, I mean, we're just always taking feedback. So we're always ready for the new thing, whatever anybody wants to do. We want to develop more sizes. That's a give. We are currently talking with some of the big trucking accessory companies in serious, kind of conversation. So we can brand with them. They want to do some branding. So we've had a lot of interesting things come about. Not all of them we want to take. Not every single one of them we're interested in taking. So we're just kind of laying low, playing it slow. So
Awesome.
We'll see.
Well, I wish you all the luck, and I'm excited to see what comes up for Arachnet in the next couple of years. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
For sure. Hey, please be sure to send me your sizes on Messenger, and I'll get those things to you.
All right, I appreciate it.
Right.
Hey, Josh, before we end this, are we going to do a giveaway with this?
Yes. So because you were so gracious to send this stuff to us, what we are going to do is actually give them away to a couple of our listeners. So we've got 2 Arachnets to give away, and Brad has one and I have the other. Luckily, Brad and I live right down the street from each other, so we can hook up and get these sent out.
Well, why don't I do
quickly.
this? Why don't I do this so that you guys don't have to be without yours? Why don't I just send them out? So you guys just start the ball rolling, send me the addresses, and I'll get them shipped out from the warehouse.
You don't have to do that.
No, yeah, I'm absolutely glad to do that. I'm absolutely glad to do it. I appreciate your time. And, time like this is valuable to someone like me, and so I don't get this opportunity very often either. I think this was a great opportunity, and you guys were really nice to do so. So I really appreciate your time as well. So, I want you to have the Arachnets, and, let's send them out because I know you'll use them, right? You guys will use them?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. I'm using it right now.
All right. You're going to use the Arachnet. So while you're traveling with your kayak and you're camping, you're going to use the Arachnet, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I definitely will.
We'll start tagging you and everything.
All right. Sure. Whatever. All right. So anyway, you know what you could do though? Send me one of those paddle and fin hats.
All right.
We can do that.
We'll
All right.
we'll
I got
trade
a
goods.
question, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
He
Do
has
you have
one.
a preference on black or the gray and white? So this is black with a gray front, and this is white with a gray front.
I like the black with the gray front.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can definitely do that.
All
We
right.
just got these made too, so
I really like your paddle and fin hats.
thanks.
Killer. Everybody asks me, "Do you have a hat?" I'm like, "No, I have a shirt though. I don't know. I'm supposed to have swag too. Jeez, this is
Oh,
a tough
yeah.
crowd. Oh my god. I don't
Yep.
know. I've got stickers. I have all kinds of things. So yeah. But yeah, you do what you do with your giveaway. Get that started. We'll give 2 away, and you just send me the addresses. All right, when you figure out who the big winner is.
All right.
All right.
That sounds great.
good.
So,
All
Brad,
right.
do you want to give the details for the giveaway, what they need to do?
Yeah, we'll post this episode up. The day airs. This will be Thursday. I don't know the date next week.
It'll
Let me
be
the 12th. Yep. Thursday, December 12th. If you share this post, and go like the Arachnet page, and maybe tag a friend in the comments, you'll be entered for the Arachnet.
All right. Sounds good, buddy.
All right, awesome.
Yep.
Okay,
Anything
guys.
else you'd like to add, Michelle?
No, this is fun. Anytime you want me to come on the show, I want to be included. I don't know anything about fishing. I could talk to you about a million different things. I could give you wisdom, like from the 55-year-old lady who, bangs around in the dark trying to figure out how to build this silly business in the kayak industry. I can talk to you about that all day.
Well, if you have anything like, when you maybe launch your product or whatever, you want to
Absolutely.
come on, talk about it, just reach out to Brad and I.
We
So,
will do that when I have actually something more than just when I have more than just a prototype to show you on the ProtectNet. So do you get that? The ProtectNet? Do you get
Yeah,
it? Do you
I
get
get
it? Do you get it? ProtectNet.
Brad doesn't. I can see his
Do you get
blank
it, Brad?
face.
Do you get it?
ProtectNet.
ProtectNet. Yeah.
Protecting
I don't know. Protecting, and he's gone. He's over. He's like,
Brad's like, it's almost 10. It's past bed.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We won't keep you anymore.
No.
Right.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Yeah, but if you want, if you ever, just want to chat, just bring me up. Ring me up in the old Skype. Now we all know how to work it. Now that my computer's updated, everything's good. All right,
Awesome.
We'll talk soon, you guys.
All right, thank you,
All
Michelle.
right, guys.
Yep.
You guys have a good night and tight lines and smooth paddling.
Do you love our podcast and want to help support us even more? Well, now you can. You can simply go to patreon.com/paddle, the letter N, fin. Or you can also go to anchor.fm/paddle, the letter N, fin. This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.